I'm Linda Elsiegood, founder of the LDN Research Trust. It has been my honour to interview LDN researchers, prescribers, pharmacists and patients from around the world for many conditions. Thank you for joining us.
This evening I'm joined by Laura Dankorf, who's a nurse practitioner in adult medicine practice in Iowa. Thank you for joining us, Laura.
Thanks for having me today.
Could you tell us when you first got involved with LDN?
Sure. Probably about 6 years ago, I had a patient of mine who had stage 4 breast cancer come to me and ask me if I had heard of it and wondered if I would prescribe it. Well, at the time, I didn't know a whole lot about it, and I contacted a resource that I had from a company that had medical advisors that I could ask about it. And at that time, initially, I wasn't real comfortable because I felt like I needed to learn more. So a couple of years ago, I attended the live LDN conference, actually from home. I couldn't make it there, so I took a couple of days off work and listened to the conference and how different practitioners around the world were utilizing it and the benefits of LDN. And then I also read a couple of books on it. And from there, I felt more comfortable utilizing it in my practice and started to prescribe it with some of my patients that I thought might benefit from it where other things had failed.
Mm-hmm.
So I used it for various things, various like autoimmune conditions, or maybe people had fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue where I had tried other things between nutrition and supporting your adrenals, looking at a connection with viruses, and some would respond to some initial antiviral therapy, but when they didn't or that didn't last, then I looked at LDN. I've also prescribed it to some women with breast cancer with full intention that they share that information with their oncologist so they're aware that they are on it. Also with other autoimmune kind of conditions, I've used it with Lyme and Hashimoto's and someone that has a autoimmune lung condition. So I've used it in various places.
Mm-hmm. And in all this time, has anybody reported any negative side effects to you?
I would say 99% of the time, no. I had one patient that couldn't continue with it because she said her vivid dreams and her sleep continued to be disrupted. In my experience, that's probably the most common side effect, but generally it's mild, and most people say it's the first couple nights they don't find it bothersome, and it quickly goes away, and then they don't really have that anymore. But I'd say I'd only had one person that did not continue it because of a side effect.
Mm-hmm. And as rule of thumb, if people or you patients ask you how long does it take for LDN to work, what would you tell them? I tell them that they should notice something within the first month of taking it. It's been my experience, and if they feel like they're getting some benefit, I'll start them on, pretty low dose, anywhere from 1.25 to 2.5 milligrams. Usually it's 2.5. And then I'll generally move most people up to 3 to 4.5 milligrams, depending on their symptoms and how they feel they're doing. If they feel like it's helping, but maybe we're not quite there, I might get them to the 4.5. But, somewhere between 3 and 4.5 milligrams is where I have most people. Mm-hmm. And what have you found the success rate to be?
I think it kind of depends. Some people feel like it's helped. Some people don't. I mean, if they don't, then we won't necessarily continue it. But I would say overall, if I had to put a number on it, I would say 60 to 70%
feel that it's helped them, and probably 30% maybe not, or they just, in all fairness, in some cases they didn't stick with it, maybe to give it a fair enough try, or there was other things going on in their life that maybe they needed to address, so it's hard to know. Also, just you have to go by symptoms, and in some cases you can measure through lab to see if you're seeing a difference. For instance, if somebody has Hashimoto's, I'll monitor their thyroid antibodies during that to see if they're dropping.
Mm-hmm.
And that I have seen. I've seen some pretty dramatic drops in antibodies when people are on the LDN.
What condition would you say you've had the most success with?
Fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue has probably been the biggest area where I've had some women that have had like swollen lymph nodes, and they've had extensive workups before coming to me. They've been to, immunologists, gastroenterologists, all these specialties trying to figure out, why they're tired, and why they have swollen lymph nodes, and they can't ever find anything wrong with them, so to speak. But through viral testing, and there's more coming out in the research about the association with Epstein-Barr and human herpes type 6 and cytomegalovirus and parvovirus, that in some people it's believed they just have this low-grade infection going on all the time, and that can contribute to the fatigue and their swollen glands and always feeling like they've got the flu or coming down with something with body aches and fatigue. And I remember one young gal, she was 19 or 20 at the time, had been worked up extensively in probably the 3 to 4 years before I saw her. And initially we tried the antiviral therapy on her, and it didn't work. It didn't have any effect. And her glands were still swollen. She was still tired. So I said, well, we can try LDN. And she's on it to this day. She was getting sick all the time. All of her lymph node swellings went down. Her energy improved, and she wasn't getting sick anymore. She was a college student and would catch about everything that came along. And the last time I saw her, which wasn't that long ago, she was doing very well, and her energy was good, and her lymph nodes weren't swollen. And when her roommates got sick in her dorm, she didn't. She stayed well, which was not the norm for her. So, those are great successes and, just kind of like miracle stories to see the benefit of it for some people. It doesn't work for everybody for whatever reason, but for those that it works for, it's, it's life-changing for them.
Mm-hmm. And if anybody out there in Iowa who would like to come and see you, how do they get hold of you?
They would need to call the clinic that I work at, which is called Mercy Internal Medicine of Urbandale. That's where they can see me face-to-face to be evaluated. And that's oftentimes people find me by word of mouth or searching internet and trying to find LDN practitioners in Iowa. So that would be probably the best way. They can also go to pathtohealthandhealing.com, and they can just contact me through there if they need more information about how they would go about seeing me.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for sharing your experience with us.
Yes, you're welcome. It was quite an eye-opening to me, attending the conference that you put on, which is a wonderful service for people all over the world, and just getting that message out there about the benefits of this. And, quite honestly, I find it pretty risk-free thing for people to try. I usually just tell them, warn them if they're going to be on a narcotic pain medication or going to have anesthesia, that they would need to stop the LDN, a few days before that, just because I don't want it interfering with anything that way.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So it's a great thing that you're doing.
Oh, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Do you have LDN experience to share? If so, please email me, linda@ldnrt.org. I look forward to hearing from you.